What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape. Been eagerly awaiting this game since it was launched on Kickstarter. There's some fixes for Massive Darkness 1. Just had to get it, and now we're reviewing it. So I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who will tell you more about the game itself.
So this is a cooperative dungeon crawl that is intended for 1 to 6 players ages 14 and above. The box says it plays in about 2 hours. There's a lot of variability to the missions, though, I would say. There's some that we've played in 45 minutes, and others really do take you that 2 hours.
Yeah, it also depends on the player count as well. The game is published by CMON Games, and this specific game is designed by Alex Olteanu and Marco Portugal. It is based on the original Massive Darkness, who was done by the Zombicide team. And if you'd like to see who they were, I've got them down below in the video description. It's just 5 names, a little too much for my brain right at this moment. So it is definitely an iteration on the original Massive Darkness 2. So I will tell you what you're doing in the game. You're going to be moving through the dungeon. You're going to be opening doors. And when you open the doors, you'll draw door cards, see what happens. You'll be fighting different monsters in the dungeon, of course. You're going to be getting loot, leveling up, and hopefully becoming strong enough, at least for this next scenario that we're going to play, to face off against the big bad boss. In this case, we've got the angel that's been corrupted, as it's Hellscape. So he tried to save the world, but went into hell and unfortunately got corrupted himself. Now you're going to have your specific character that's going to have its own ability, as well as its own shadow abilities, which will be triggered by this nice purple shadow die, which is pretty cool. And then what's new in this is you also have a character class, which comes with some different components that you're going to be using to play with your specific character. Now, if you do happen to buy some of the expansions, or you happen to have the Kickstarter exclusives, you'll have different mages and, wizards, or different rangers that will have different abilities than the ones that we have in the core box. We are just reviewing the core box content. You can see some fancy upgrades, but we're not using any of the Kickstarter exclusives. Now, as we're trying to keep our videos a little bit shorter, we'll not be covering the components or how to play in this video. So if you'd like to get an idea as to how to play Massive Darkness, as this is an iteration that plays very similarly to 1, so much so that if you know 1, you're going to learn this pretty quickly. There'll be a card popping up that will take you to our review and how to play of Massive Darkness 1. And then following that card, you're going to have another one that will pop up. This will take you to our unboxing, so you can get a nice up-close look at all of the components. So, did I miss anything at all, Julie?
No, I think you got it covered.
All right, on that note, we are now going to
grab our drink,
grab our best friend and fellow Lightbringer,
and we're going to take it to the table one more time.
One more time. Hopefully we can defeat Mike. Save.
He's pretty big.
He's big. A lot bigger than we are. I mean, look at that. So, Julie, you only really got to play the original Massive Darkness for a little bit. I played it with Sammy G. We now have Massive Darkness 2, and perhaps the reason to go back to the original, as we got the upgrade pack, so it plays like the new version of the game. What did you think of Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape? Hey, don't sue me for saying it again. It's just fun to say. Massive Darkness!
He is so strange sometimes. Okay, so it has some great table presence. The miniatures are very nice. It takes up a lot of space. It's a good thing. I mean, you can't see everything, but this whole table is covered with the content of the game.
So one thing I will say, if you can track it down, I did manage to find it after the fact, and I'm kicking myself not for backing those 2 items during the campaign. There is a token organizer that gives you nice little boxes for the token. Kind of wish I'd gotten that. It's not necessary. The tokens aren't the bad part. It's the cards. If you can find the Game Genic Quest organizer, do it. It is something that you need for this game. Unfortunately, at aftermarket prices, it's gotten a little pricey right now.
The characters are obviously not all created equal. I've played the ranger, I played the wizard, I played the rogue. Did I play anything else?
You also played everyone but the paladin. Wait, did you play the Paladin? No, you did not play the Paladin.
I did, with the little circles.
Yeah, with the consecrated area. So you only didn't play the Shaman.
That's right, I played the Berserker as well.
Yeah.
So I think the Wizard by far was my favorite. I enjoyed the Rogue as well. She's a lot of fun. I think those two were my favorite. You really enjoyed the Ranger. I think it's probably the mission that we ended up playing where I was playing the Ranger that wasn't... I just wasn't getting the range out, so it wasn't as much fun.
Well, you were very strong with the Ranger early on, but then as we got to this section of the map, it was just a lot more difficult to get range, so you were doing a lot more melee attacks. Also, I don't quite know if you can see it, but we do have the boss fight set up. I do think you can see part of it. I might just slide a tile out of the way just to make it quite clear. During the boss fight, you really weren't able to exploit the range element. Mike, I did move this around just for a little bit more table present, but the way the boss works, it was just a lot easier for us to stay here because we had to spend an action to pick up a token he kept dropping on us. So that was something that definitely limited your access to range as well, which I definitely understand being disappointed because I love the Ranger and you seem to have a little bit more frustration with it. Also, we didn't get you any good range weapons until late in the game.
Well, and that's one of the things about this game. I mean, the stacks of treasures are fairly big, so you really don't know what you're going to get when you pick something up. And one game we kept getting ranged weapons and I wasn't a ranged character. And then this time we just weren't getting any range. So it's kind of the luck of the draw. Also, your rolls are going to have a huge impact as well. So there's a lot of luck there as well. I played a couple of games where I was rolling like a beast, and last game, not so much. I mean, I wasn't rolling horribly, just not overcompensating. So, the characters are fun. I enjoyed this system of gameplay. I mean, we're used to this system, right?
Yeah, something similar to this, very much so. There's a lot of different elements in something like Zombicide, but we play a lot of dungeon crawls with class-based systems. Now, one thing that is important to note, and I will have noted in the intro, but if you happen to skip that, we do have a lot of upgraded components that you can see on the table, like the doors and things like that. We did not use any of the Kickstarter exclusive content or any of the extra classes. This is really about everything that's in the core box with some nice fancy table presents.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy gearing up, and it was nice, at least for this part, for the boss battle that we got to get up to level 4. I'm gonna say that it was very easy. At least the different missions we played, the first couple missions we played 2 players, and it felt extremely easy. It felt a little bit more difficult when we went to 4 players. We went to 2 players for the boss battle, and I'm glad we did because it did take us a long time to get through this mission. I think that's one of the things I would say is that there's some missions that are on the easier side that can be played in
45 minutes to an hour, depending on the player count.
I was going to say about 45 minutes, and then there are others that have taken us 2 hours.
But that's actually what's written on the box, so the 2-hour time is really right about
It says 2 hours, but there are some that are a lot less than that.
No, agreed. It's just saying that you're going to hit that 2 hours, and you're not really going to go necessarily above that unless you've got higher player counts, and you can expect to maybe surpass that. I have to agree with you, Julie. I really liked all the classes that we've gotten, that we played so far. I love the player boards. I love the fact that there's a nice little lip there for the board. We linked the video earlier. If you want to see all the components, we did an unboxing. You can definitely go ahead and check that out. I like the wheel that we've got for the wizard. So just everything feels deluxe. Like there's a real focus on the table presence. Now, even without the doors, you're going to lose a little bit of that 3D presence, but you have such awesome, fantastic, gigantic miniatures in some cases, and still plenty of detail on the hero minis that you're going to have a nice presence no matter what, just because of the quality of the components. No issues with the cards, the art, everything's got a little bit of that cartoony style, but I definitely feel like it fits this world. It's supposed to be more of a cartoon style, overpowered adventure in the dungeon. If you've seen what's currently on Amazon, like The Legends of Vox Machina. It's definitely sort of similar to that, but a little bit more cartoony in terms of the art style. I like it. All the component quality is good. I don't think you need to necessarily sleeve the cards. There's not too much shuffling that you're going to do. We've been shuffling very carefully just because we really want to make sure the game lasts a long time, and we haven't really seen any wear and tear in that respect. Now, one thing that we'll say about this, it is a beast to set up. Teardown is actually not that bad, but you're looking at probably a good 15 to 20 minutes to set up if you're doing it solo, and about a 10 minutes to tear down because you're not trying to place everything. You're just putting everything back into the gigantic box. I said boss. Mm-hmm. And everything is well laid out in order to help you do that. So really not too many issues there. But I don't know if this is the game you want to take out for just a play session. So that's where, some gamers are definitely going to have a bigger issue with this. It's not necessarily something that's going to go over well if you want to set it up on your kitchen table. And it probably needs your kitchen table unless you have a dining room or some other place where you can play it. So I'd expect that you'd want to take this out when you've got minimum 3 to 4 hours to get a couple play sessions in.
Yeah, I don't really have anything much more to add. I'd be willing to give it my rating on, so unless you have something else you want to add.
I wanted to talk just a little bit about the classes and the shadow die. I just want to talk how they made some changes in that respect. Also, in terms of the improvements of the combat mechanics, because I was the one that reviewed this previously with Sammy G, is that one of the big issues was how many wounds you would take if you had to disengage from a big enemy and them getting like a big attack of opportunity that could really affect you and like take you out of the game. I actually got stuck in our tutorial and was brutally murdered by the roaming monster. They've eased that up where you're only going to take damage based on the amount of miniatures, meaning that you can, depending on your movement points, things like that, you can take out 1 or 2 of them and be like, well, I'm in a tough spot here. I really need to get away. Okay, I'll take a damage and disengage. Or maybe you take 3 or 4 damage if you've got in a really bad state, but that's a choice you're going to be able to make. Also, depending on the characters you activate during the hero phase, you've got a lot of control of that. So that is definitely a big improvement. They've also not weakened the mobs, but they've really balanced them out by having the mob item decks, whereas before you were just drawing from the common, rare, and epic treasure pools depending on what was going on, and you sometimes got mobs that were ridiculously powerful. I mean, there was Julie got the flaming sword this last campaign mission here. Well, not the campaign, this last dungeon, and that would have really hurt if you could you imagine one of the mobs that kept attacking us using a flaming sword?
Yeah, that would be bad.
That'd be bad. So they really focused on smoothing things out. But if you like the original Massive Darkness and the core of how it plays, it's not changed by that much. Besides the classes now as well, which is a big thing. That's why they had to do a full upgrade pack, whereas every character class plays differently. It's not just like a special ability. You're filling a role. The wizard actually is casting spells, which I thought was really cool. The shaman, you're pushing up this elemental track. And then once you get to the top of the track, you get permanent bonuses to abilities. Otherwise, you'll be spending some of those elements to trigger effects, which are very strong. The Firestorm effect was really good for us. The ranger can do some devastating range damage using the arrow cards. The rogue is really sneaky and can even end up getting sometimes like 6 or 7 actions in a round because you're drawing tokens from the rogue bag, and then they give you bonuses, but sometimes even drawing more tokens. Then you've got the Berserker, who I did not play, that Julie played. He's got a different rage. He's got rage, of course, different stances, so you can be really strong on defense, really strong on offense, and I thought that was really cool as well. And then the Paladin can consecrate different areas that have different effects, pushing enemies, healing allies, and then you can even boost a specific skill that you have to get even an extra effect. So I thought that was really cool. I think they've just taken the game to a whole other level, and I wasn't sure about backing this one all in. I said, you know what, I'd like to fix the expensive Massive Darkness because we just weren't playing it, but I love the miniatures. And upgrading to this has really got me wanting to go back to the original, but also wanting to dive in to the campaign on this and see how it goes, getting up to level 10, keeping items, keeping skills, and carrying it through in a nice long campaign. So we do have that. We've got enough campaign games to finish. I would not expect us to see us attacking the Heavenfall campaign anytime soon. But also, that being said, one thing that I do love about the campaign expansions for this game is that they or look to be around the 4 to 5 mission mark, not past necessarily 6. So that's something that if you have a game group that wants to play a campaign, you can probably play that out in 2 game nights if it's a 4 mission campaign. So you set it up, you play through the whole campaign, 2 missions, you're done in 2 weeks. I think that's something that's really good because we're still playing Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. We haven't had time. It's still on the table here, and we're on mission 9. So we love it, but this is definitely a little bit more accessible, and I really liked where they're going with the overall design structure, especially for us, because I can see us playing 5 missions of the Heavenfall campaign without too many issues. Might have to skip a week of doing a review, get something else covered, but it's not going to be overly challenging.
Okay. So, how about I give a rating then,
Yes.
and then you go second.
Okay.
So I'm not comparing this to Massive Darkness because that was years ago, and I think I only played it once. So I'm just gonna rate this one based on this game per se, and honestly, based on the different classes and how it plays and being able to upgrade and the style of play, despite the fact that it's highly variable because of the cards and the dice, I still give it an 8.
I'm going to go a little higher than you. I'm going to give this an 8.5. I think this is an excellent dungeon crawl, and I think there's a potential for this to even go up to a 9. We might have to reevaluate it after we play one of the campaigns. I'm giving this a little bit more of a half a point because I'm really happy that I now have 2 new campaigns for the original Massive Darkness, and I can use all that content in this game. So that is just really cool. I love the upgraded components and having a campaign game that's got multiple campaigns, because we got everything that I can feasibly see myself playing now regularly and getting through easily. Also, more importantly, when we finally get the chance, if we're playing with a game group, to be able to be like, hey, you guys want to start a Massive Darkness 2 campaign, and it not being like, oh, we're going to be playing this for 5, 6, 7 months, being in something like, no, let's play this for 2 weeks with the campaign group, and then we can go back and play some other games, or play for a week, take a week off, finish it the next week. So that's something I think has a ton of value, and I really think that people are going to enjoy it. Also, we didn't talk about it, but there's these crazy cool boss fights, and that's something that's a new mechanic that's added. I do think it could still be tweaked a little bit, but it's really fun, and I like the fact that it really takes the game up to that like almost video game style dungeon crawl where you're mission, boss fight, and that's really cool to me.
Not as applicable for me, but yes, I can appreciate your comment.
All right, and on that note,
it's time to remind everybody to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
And take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So make sure to check them out because we've got plenty of pictures of us playing Massive Darkness 2. There'll be plenty more once we cover some of the different campaigns. Then also down below, there is a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game, so you should click that link. You get 10% off your next purchase, and a portion of that purchase is returned to us. Great way to support the channel. Also, they have Massive Darkness 2 up. They have some of the Kickstarter pledges, so get them quick before they're all sold out. So you should definitely check it out if you're looking for a copy of the game and you're in North America. On that note, now we are going to remind you that videos will be popping up in front of us. I was almost going for the drink too, Julie. I caught myself. So here will be our most recent release, and in front of Julie will be our review and how to play / playthrough of Massive Darkness. So now we're going to grab our drink, grab our best friend and fellow Lightbringer.
And we're going to
Remind you to keep playing games.